nice and sick for the 2021 year-end roundup. I posted a meme on I don't ever look on Facebook, but I was like looking for something, and my memory 10 years ago was like, cheers to the end of another shitty year that will one day be somehow nostalgic for. And I was like, 2011.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the tits.
We really did have everything, didn't we? I mean, when you think about it.
We saw Kylie Minogue at the Hard Rock.
We did see Kylie Minogue at the Hard Rock, but as bad as 2021 has been, I always have good memories from years. Like, I feel like we've done so much this year that's like good and happy, and I mean, you know, I quit 2 awful jobs.
You were yeeted.
The jobs were yeeted away from me spiritually. So.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. We're not covering any one topic, so there could be spoilers.
There's the
potential for spoilers
for
any of the movies we're talking about.
Almost any movie that we have discussed on this podcast in the year 2021.
So, and every movie we've seen before that.
Yeah.
So it's a real tit flapper.
It is, yeah.
So I think we might break this up. So for this first chunk, do you want to do movies?
Yeah, let's do movies first.
Let's do movies first. Okay.
And we've talked about it before. Are we going to start at 10 or are we going to go back and forth?
10.
I do 10, you do 10, I do 9, you do 9.
Sure.
I do 8, you do 8. Okay.
Well, I have 10. You have 10?
I have 10 and then I have a couple honorable mentions.
I have 6 honorable mentions.
Okay.
So
I also have some movies that technically are 2020 movies.
Those are in my honorable mentions.
But, well, one of mine is not.
Okay.
But some of them are, and they just was like, I was able to see them this year.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I also want to do the obligatory, we are not critics. We mean nothing to you.
This is also not what I...
This is objective.
Yeah. My
or
list,
subjective, rather.
It's subjective. My list are the movies that were my favorite that I watched this year. That does not mean I think they were the best movies I saw this year.
That's the point I wanted to hit. It's not that I think that these movies are a ranking from least to best quality-wise. They're more so the movies that I am going to remember that stood out to me. Because even a bad movie can really, or a medium movie.
I have a couple of medium movies.
Can really shape, you know, especially, I mean, as an artist, it can shape a vision and stuff. So these are more so just the movies of note for me, not so much what I think were the best.
Yeah.
What are your honorables?
Okay, so I have kind of a ton. I saw Judas and the Black Messiah this year, even though it's technically a 2020 movie, and it was absolutely excellent. I've got No Time to Die on here. I've got Zola.
You're counting that as a 2020 or just an honorable mention?
No Time to Die?
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mention, but it's from 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, we both, but I saw Midsummer for the first time this year, and it is on my extra movies list.
Watch this space for a Midsummer special edition.
Oh, are we?
I'm bringing my Blu-ray.
You're gonna bring it, yeah. And then, did I say Zola already?
No.
Zola, I thought was really excellent. And then, that movie Spontaneous that we watched. Mm-hmm. And then, Raya and the Last Dragon. Those are my honorables. It was a weirdly weak year for movies. So like we saw way more movies than that plus 10, but it was a weak year for movies in my opinion.
My honorable mentions were Promising Young Woman.
Okay.
Because we saw that this year. I put Spider-Man No Way Home. It was an excellent movie. They just, if you know us at all, Spider-Man has never been my thing, but I thought it was great, and it was very...
It made my list.
It was great. It did not make my list. Yeah, it's an honorable mention, but I have Vacation Friends. I actually really liked that.
It was a lot of fun.
I just don't know any reality where it's one of the best movies I've seen, but I included the map of tiny perfect things.
Okay, nice. You said it right.
Yeah, I actually really liked that one. Well, we're kind of stans, Catherine Newton stans at this point.
And
then
Lev Grossman.
Cheekbones from West Side Story.
Yep.
He was really
Mm-hmm.
he actually, I mean, he has cheekbones, but they're severe.
Yeah.
It's almost like lack of cheekbones. What's his name? Kyle Allen we'll go with.
I think
that sounds right. I put Last Night in Soho.
Okay.
It was on my list, top 10 for a while. But it might, I've only seen it the one time. It was just weird. It was cool. And I want to encourage that.
Yeah.
And then my actual favorite movie of the year was Love and Monsters.
Did that come out this year?
2020.
Oh, okay.
So I'm putting it on because I hadn't seen it when we did our.
Sure.
So Love and Monsters is my number one honorable mention, but it's a 2020 movie.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
10.
So my number 10 is something I also want to preface this by saying that I have a list of like 20 plus more movies that I intended to get through at some point this year, and I just straight up did not.
You're like me with music. It's like each year you're like, I'm going to do better, and you somehow do worse.
I just did not do better. And I'm even unemployed right now, and I still somehow did not do better. So that being said, I'm sure there's going to be stuff on that list that I watched that I'm going to really enjoy that I just have not seen yet. But it is what it is. So my number 10 is Coda. It is an Apple TV Plus movie about a girl who is hearing with an entirely deaf family, and she really loves to sing, and there's sort of like a conflict between like what does she owe to her family versus what does she owe to herself. It's really sweet. It's really cute. It's really thoughtfully done. Marlee Matlin plays her mother, and it's like
remember how hot she looked at the Oscars?
Yeah, she's hot. She's a hot lady.
What does he say? Like 5'6", mid-40s, hot, mostly rolls in ASL.
Yeah. It also, as most things with deaf characters do, reignited my desire to learn ASL because it's like just seems so fascinating. But yeah, I really, really loved it. I think if you have Apple TV or a way to get access to the movie, I think everyone should watch it. It was really well done and super sweet. My
number 10 was The Green Knight.
Oh, I straight up forgot all about The Green Knight.
And again, I don't know that I actually enjoyed it that much.
Yeah.
But it was just so weird.
That's the thing.
So
it's just such a swing. It's such a swing. That's so impressive that I just like, it's like what you said about Last Night in Soho. I want more people to take swings like that.
I didn't know I needed Kate Dickey's Queen Guinevere.
Also, yes.
And it weirdly, it works in a way that you're like, huh.
And it was also part of the, I guess you can't really call it a renaissance, but the like Barry Keoghan supremacy of 2021. Oh, so my number 9, I have Barb and Star as my number 9. I loved Barb and Star. It was so silly. I also love, I think it's the first thing I've ever seen where Jamie Dornan was silly because he's so serious all the time. And then he played Christian Grey, and it's just like, it does not vibe for that with me. But he's really silly in it. I also, it's something we discussed in our episode. I love how these two women are, you know, what is Kristen Wiig is almost 50, right? So they're late 40s, 50s, and they're very sexual. I love that because like life does not end when you turn 40. And I especially like the message of like refinding your shimmer. Like that was so nice. And so I've watched it 2 or 3 times. It's just so cute and it's so happy, and fucking Reba McEntire's in it. And I love it.
We're at a point, me more so than you, of existential like
yeah.
And it was really nice watching something about middle-aged people that was not about how difficult or how trying or desperate or pathetic or because they don't know, like they think it's very Romeo and Michelle. It's like I thought our lives were great until you told me they weren't. Like,
exactly. And it also features a A+ cameo from Vanessa Bayer.
Sure.
Which is always welcome.
Sure. For my number 9, I went ahead and put Don't Look Up. Okay. I know that it's controversial.
It's higher on my list.
And is it really?
Yeah.
I had it higher on mine, but I went ahead and knocked it down a little bit.
I'll tell you this too, is I numbered these like 30 minutes before you arrived at the house today.
No, I definitely understand the conversation around it, and especially I think for intellectuals, they're very sort of like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because it is heavy-handed, you know what I mean?
It's heavy-handed, and it's not like we don't know that this is real and that it is an allegory for climate change and all of this, although apparently people don't know. I saw an article headline today that says the ending of Don't Look Up explained. And I was like, if you need that explained, you need to go back to high school.
So we've had this discussion. It's not so much that, first of all, people watching those videos are often people who haven't watched the movie. They want to know what it's about. And second of all, it's more just a reason to talk about. It's like, that's usually code for like spoiler conversation about, if we wanted more views, we need to start ending explained.
Let's do it.
No, where a lot of people, I think, were very put off by its tone. I found it cathartic.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was being lectured. I enjoyed being able to share grief and frustration with this movie and the characters within it.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a lot of great character work, even if the movie was uneven.
I agree. I also don't necessarily think the movie was uneven. I understand, because Linda Holmes actually made a really great tweet where she was like, somewhere within Don't Look Up is a movie that
a much more thoughtful movie
that basically like draws more on that dinner scene and less on the like post-credits stuff. And I do agree with that, but I do think that those two things coming together as a whole is, in my opinion, what makes it work, because that is the way that we are living in this world. There are people like us who are them at the dinner table. And
well, I was going to say
people who are idiots who are like,
I think the dinner scene works so well because that is not the tone
100%
of the entire movie.
Yeah.
I was very confounded. I was sort of, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know. And ergo, I found that scene to be so incredibly moving because we didn't expect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I enjoyed it.
I agree completely.
8.
My number 8 is Dune.
Really?
Yeah, I loved Dune. We discussed it in our episode. I loved the Book of Dune when I read it the first time, and I also love the miniseries that came out in the early 2000s. There's a Dune and a Children of Dune, and it was just always so satisfying to watch it for me. And so I really, really loved watching it with the money and the time and the thoughtfulness it deserved, I feel like, because I've never seen the David Lynch version.
There are so many stories that
don't have the thoughtfulness,
that don't work because they weren't given what they needed.
Exactly. And I think Denis really gave it the thought that it needed. And so I'm really excited to see part 2, because I think it will be just as good, if not better. And like, it was such a good setup. They did like enough of the book to give you what you needed, and they cut the things out that were unnecessary, even if I think that we needed that dinner scene so Lady Jessica could have another dress. But yeah, I just really loved it. I loved
the people what they want.
Give me Lady Jessica and more dresses.
Just a fashion show.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved it. I also ever since Lady Bird, I guess Call Me by Your Name, I've been kind of obsessed with Timothée Chalamet, but in the last like 2 to 3 years, he's been just continually impressing me in like a really aggressive fashion. And I just think he was like weirdly the perfect choice for Paul. So yeah, that's my number 8.
My number 8, I had Mortal Kombat.
Nice.
It's not that good of a movie, but it was just fun.
It was fun.
It was fun and gay.
It was.
No, I have a refrain that echoes throughout these halls, these walls. And it's Gods and Monsters, and it gave me Gods and Monsters.
It was fun. I liked it. It just like, it didn't even make my honorable mention.
Well, also, I just like, weirdly, I was the most pumped by it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was kind of like, it's cool. Yeah. And I'm like, Mortal Kombat! Like,
see one of our episodes for a picture to fall down and for us to both make eye contact and then shriek Mortal Kombat at each other.
And furthermore, I don't know if it was successful enough that it warranted a sequel, but it's the kind of thing that I believe
I wouldn't hate one.
I believe a sequel would be better.
Yeah.
That's not always true. But I think that there could be more to say.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
So 7.
My number 7 is The French Dispatch by Wes Anderson.
Really? Will didn't care for it.
Will hated it. My husband hated it. It is for me God tier Wes Anderson. It's like everything that I love about Wes Anderson, this movie had for me. And everything about it was, I don't know, it's like kind of sweet and sort of sad. And it's just like that exact part in my brain that Wes Anderson pings all the time. Because currently, before I saw The French Dispatch, my favorite one was The Grand Budapest Hotel. followed very closely by the Royal Tenenbaums. And I think
don't forget the midnight cooterie.
The midnight coterie of sinister intruders. That got us flagged last time. We tried to put a clip in.
Did it really?
It is the best SNL skit you've ever seen if you like Wes Anderson. But no, there was something about it where it's like a series of vignettes, but they're all loosely connected through this like newspaper, the French dispatch of this like Ohio newspaper. And it was just like,
I didn't know that. That's really funny.
It's super funny and really cool. And I mean, it's got so many people in it. And again, the Timothée Chalamet of it all, it was like, that was my favorite segment of the movie.
You know who loves Timothée Chalamet?
Who?
My mom. Loves Timothée Chalamet.
I'm on your team, Teresa. Let's do this.
We were watching Little Women. It's become like a holiday movie for us.
We watched it while we were decorating the tree.
Yeah. I did mean to put a little asterisk on Mortal Kombat from number 8 that I also was a little bit lumping Godzilla vs. Kong. We watched them around the same time.
Okay.
And they're both doing kind of the same thing.
They're giving the same vibe.
And I liked Godzilla vs. Kong way more than I liked the previous Godzilla movies.
Okay.
Although I actually ended up loving Kong, Skull Island.
You like Skull Island, yeah.
No, my number 7 was West Side Story.
Okay.
Historically, we haven't liked West Side Story. We don't like the story all that much.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was a very, very exquisite, beautiful, old-fashioned Hollywood movie musical. And I would like a few more of those. And I guess it's like wicked underperforming. So I don't know that we
are still in the deep midst of a pandemic. Stop making box office numbers matter. They don't matter.
I'm here for Ariana DeBose's supremacy. I hope that she cha-chas all the way through. Apparently, like, she's won every award up to. So far, it's like never happened before, but she's almost a lock for supporting actress. But all things said and done, and I think the new elements they brought to it, I think that is an example of one of the better ways to refresh
a musical,
an older musical that might have problematic elements.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a fan of throwing things away, but I'm also not a fan of censorship. And it's very, very difficult. And I think they did it. And I think the Rita Moreno of it all
helped.
Really helped, I think, bringing her on as a producer.
Yeah. I agree. I don't have anything to add because it's not anywhere on my list. So my number 6 is Last Night in Soho. The more I think about it, the more I liked it. We are also here for the Anya Taylor-Joy supremacy. So I loved that. I loved Thomas and Mackenzie in it. I understand how it was uneven potentially, but after Will sort of explained the thing it was doing a pastiche on, I was like, oh,
it's like the Italian.
Yeah, like an Italian 60s horror movie. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I was like, it's exactly what it should have been.
That's what I wanted from Suspiria.
Yeah, I see.
I wanted Suspiria to be, because the original Suspiria is like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Suspiria threw me for such a loop.
Yeah, so I absolutely loved it. I also loved Matt Smith in it. He's grotesque, but it was just really good.
I mean, his character.
Sure, obviously, Matt Smith is a super handsome man, but I dug it. I really, really liked it.
My number 6 was the Fear Street trilogy.
I considered putting that on my list, but I knew you were going to, and so I figured we'd talk about it anyway.
I kind of do that too. I'm like, well, I know she'll like that.
She'll put it on there. I'll be fine.
It was so weird. There was that we were aware of. There was very little fanfare.
Yeah.
It was this little gift that was just sort of sitting on our doorstep
for 3 weeks
one
in
July morning.
Yeah.
And they were so ambitious and so balls to the wall, and we're just the right age.
And then so well done within each genre. It was perfect.
Because I just remember thinking that I can see how, honestly, I can see how some people would think, because each one's slightly different. I can see how they think they were odd, but I also can see how someone would be like, because I look at them as a whole, and I can see someone taking either approach.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect for the 1667 to be as strong as it was.
Me
I'm
too.
like, I don't know. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I stand by it.
Yeah.
I liked Fear Street, and I want more from that in general, but also from Netflix. I feel like that felt so
it's such a Netflix thing.
in line.
Cosign. Yeah. So my number 5 is Don't Look Up.
Okay.
And we already talked about it a little, but I would like to put yet another button on the delivery of Timothée Chalamet saying how much he likes fingerling potatoes.
Oh, I fucking love fingerling potatoes.
I can't get it out of my head. It is literally my favorite thing that has ever happened. It was so funny. But the movie as a whole is really great. So
my favorite is, which might be controversial depending on when you're watching this and what of all of our stuff you watch, but my 5th is Encanto.
okay.
I was very sort of like medium on it the first time I saw it. I think, as I mentioned, was drunk and we had just gotten back from the beach. So I wasn't completely plugged in.
Wasn't 100% there upstairs.
But there's a lot of conversation happening about it because it just hit Disney Plus. And I think it's one of the ones where the parts are worth more than the whole.
Yeah.
But I really like the parts and I think they're worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I ultimately I get more from it with each viewing. I think the music becomes much stronger upon repeat.
Which I'll agree with you because we just watched it again this afternoon and I did vibe with the music more the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I don't remember the Spanish word now, but the Two Caterpillars song really slayed me.
Yeah. God,
yeah.
One, we don't talk about Bruno. I think that's one that could really because it's
and it's got like a little 3-line reprise at the end.
It's fun, it's dancey, and also it's scary. I think
scary.
that's what gives it this fun, this sort of wicked edge.
Yeah.
But no, I think the individual songs, I think the character work they do in them, and I like I said, to say it a third time, I think the individual parts are really great, and they're just sort of jerry-rigged into a whole.
Yeah.
Because one of the main things that I like the most about it that I didn't hit in our first review, and I think the movie itself barely lands, is the relationship with the family to the village. This is essentially a weird paradise that was magically created to save these people from some form of chaos, oppression, what have you. And I think when you understand that, like when you actually understand that, I think it makes Abuela more not reasonable, but I think you understand
it's
her
relatable.
more than her just droning on and on about protecting the miracle.
Sure.
It's like that turns into like nonsense.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like they have been caring for this village for 50 years.
Yeah.
And then to have the village show up for them at the end, I don't think the movie...
It doesn't put a button on it.
It doesn't
like it
land
should.
that quite as strong as I think for that to be the end it needed to.
I agree.
And so I end up on my 4th viewing doing a lot of the heavy lifting
You're
that
like,
the movie or Luisa is not doing.
Should be doing. My number 4 is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
I loved it. So basically my only real complaint is that there are a couple scenes between the spoiler alert, between the villains that come from the other franchises where they're explaining their deal to one another. And I kind of glazed over those parts because I was like, this is dumb. I don't need this. I already this is for people who didn't see the old ones. And it's it's totally unnecessary. You would have just assumed they were from a different timeline regardless. But that was really my only big complaint. I thought all the relationship stuff was good. I thought the stuff with Aunt May was good. I thought the stuff with Happy was good. And I think honestly, one of the things I'm going to carry forward from that movie the most is just the weird kinship and chemistry between the 3 Peters. It was unbelievably good considering that the 3 of them have literally never worked together before. And you don't know, I don't even know if they've ever met.
A real, and I think much needed victory lap for Andrew Garfield.
Also, yes, because he gets so much shit for his Spider-Man. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that I don't think his Spider-Man is bad. I think he's too hot to play Peter Parker. I think that's for sure
that's
true.
A you. He's doofy. I think he's hot, but I think he's hot, but
so
people aren't lining up for Andrew Garfield. The teen girls don't have him plastered on their...
I don't know, talk to TikTok. But anyway, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was, I guess my second favorite Marvel movie that came out this year.
Mm. My number 4 was Raya and the Last Dragon.
Nice.
I just thought it was great.
It was very sweet. I liked it a lot too.
They're both Raya and Encanto. I hope that they don't just get sort of lost to the pandemic era. I hope that they have time.
They'll have legs.
To grow and thrive.
They're both streaming. So
well, and as I've mentioned recently, it's like Moana didn't hit until like last year on Disney Plus. It took Moana a good 5 years to find its audience, and it's like perpetually in the top 10 streaming, and that's like including Netflix, like whatever Netflix show is. Moana comes in at like number 7 on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I hope that that's the case.
So my number 3 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings.
My number 3 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings, which is not too many rings. I thought it was too many rings before we watched the movie.
So I thought it was only 7 rings at first, and then I was like 10. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know he wore them.
I didn't either.
And then I was like 10. God, that's so many rings. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I just, honest to God, everything about it, I thought it landed. I think my favorite thing about it is how it earns the Mandarin, retroactively earns the Mandarin in a like charming and kind of doofy and really interesting way. I thought it was great. Tony Leung, always welcome. Simu Liu, everything about it. I
liked the part where there were dragons and nine tails and the gods and monsters.
Also little Morris, the cutest thing you've ever seen. Love it.
I would have never guessed that would have worked, and it did.
Yeah. And it was also beautifully done, like really pretty. And
what's the style of martial art called? The like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? It's called something.
Oh, I don't know.
That number with
the mom
Tony
and dad,
Leung.
Oh my God. It's stunning.
It brings a tear to my eye. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Super great. Ooh, I was going to say Awkwafina, actually. A really delightfully contained use of Awkwafina. Really good. Okay, my number 2 is Belfast, which you still need to watch. This movie knocked me sideways. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, and it was unbelievably good. Another entry in Jamie Dornan, being better than I knew he was before. And Katrina Balfe, who we know from Outlander, she's also stunning in this movie. And it's basically semi-autobiographical about Kenneth Branagh's childhood and how he and his family left Belfast during the Troubles in the 60s. Everything about it worked so well. It's so beautiful. The music's amazing. The performances are great. It's wonderful. If you have any capacity to see it, I would go see Belfast for sure.
My number 2 is a real tit flapper.
Your Marmot star is so much higher than mine.
It's a me thing. Yeah. Of the movies on this list that I'm likely to revisit over and over again, it's going to be one of the ones that defined the year for me.
Yeah.
And I think especially the combination of how much fun we had with it versus expecting nothing of it, nothing from it. And it was one of those weird pandemic movies that just sort of was plopped in front of. Actually, it wasn't. Didn't we have to do that $20? Yeah. I think we did. I think we had to seek it out and pay money for it. I don't know. I loved it.
I do think we had to rent it. I think you're right.
So you covered most of.
So great. It's so nice.
Believe it or Nate. My God, woman.
It's so funny.
We are who we are, Edgar.
Okay, so I cheated a little, but I am counting this because it was not on my list last year, and I did not watch it until 2021. My favorite movie is Promising Young Woman. It is, honest to God, my favorite movie of all time. It is.
We haven't had that conversation. Who is having that conversation? No, wow, of all time.
So I had been waiting for it, waiting, because it got delayed by the pandemic too. It premiered at Sundance in 2020. And then we didn't get to watch it until January 2021, or very late December of 2020, but we had already recorded this for that. Every single aspect of it blew me away. I don't think there's a wasted moment in the movie. The tension it has, the performances it has. I mean, I think about it every day, every single day. Something about it comes into my mind. It's an absolutely breathtaking movie.
So, like I said, I didn't include it because I thought it was a 2020. I thought those were the rules.
It did release in 2020. I didn't see it.
It would be in my top 5.
And I know that I didn't put it on my list last year because we hadn't been able to see it yet because it was in theaters, but we weren't going to the theater again at that time.
It truly shocked me.
Me too.
And I think that is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And there's something so unnerving about the movie because there's such a threat and the movie feels very violent, even though, especially for the first 2 acts, there's very little to no violence depicted.
We only witness one act of violence.
But you feel this sense of like, I could believe somebody watched that and was like, yeah, she killed all those guys. It's like, she doesn't.
No.
But you feel that, like you feel the heaviness of it. And the way that it ends, I think is perfect.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
there's a lot of people, especially men, no offense, not playing that boo men game.
Full offense.
But I think that they think that somehow that the ending's wrong or a flaw or
I disagree.
It's the only way it could.
I 100% agree. I also think Carey Mulligan does something in this movie, which is she manages to perform the entire movie as almost as someone who is missing a limb, but is ignoring, like, is just like, no, it'll be fine. I just have to finish this one thing and then it won't matter that I'm missing a limb. And that is sort of the way it ends, where it ends up not mattering that she's missing a limb. And it's obviously a metaphorical limb. She's got all 4, but it's like, it's the amount of grief that she has. She's carrying it around like she's been mortally wounded, and it just takes that amount of time for her brain to realize, essentially.
And just, I mean, oh God, Alison Brie, Connie Britton, Jennifer Coolidge, Chris Lowell,
Bo Burnham,
Schmidt.
Oh, Max Greenfield.
They're doing
Adam Brody.
Just such amazing work. It was Alfred Molina?
No.
Who was
her father?
No. The like therapist or...
Oh, it was Alfred Molina. Yeah. It's so good. I just think it's like one of the most stunning movies I've ever seen in my life. It's also the way Emerald Fennell directed it, and, you know, it was so involved with the set design and the costume design and the makeup and everything. It all blends together to tell a story that, in my opinion, is perfectly cohesive, and it just, like, there is not a down note in the movie as far as, like, being excellent. So that is my number 1 movie.
Well, mine, believe it or not, is Dune.
Nice.
I just really liked Dune.
Awesome.
I'm here for Dune. I want more Dune.
Didn't think you liked it that much.
It might be one where I went ahead and was like, the quality of this film is so excellent. I'm putting it, like, I think I just sort of decided when I saw it. It was my number 1.
Sure.
I don't know if it would slide around as I recall this list years in the future, but yeah, I felt confident with that as a number 1.
I thought Dune was great. I really liked it. I was very impressed with it.
I'm a big Denis fan.
Yeah.
I'm
a fan of his films, but if you're not comfortable going to the movie theater, watch your shit at home. It's fine.
I am particularly exhausted with the concept of discourse. I don't think there's a single discourse that I'm interested in at this point. So, it all feels on that note, I'd like to talk about Martin Scorsese.
And why he doesn't like Marvel movies.
So, yeah, I think that we're going to end this part there for now.
Yeah.
Tune in and or seek out our TV list
and music
coming soon.
So if you want to, you can follow us on Twitter at soimwatching or Instagram at soimwatching this show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything. We have covered almost every single one of these movies. I think the only one we didn't cover is Belfast, because you haven't seen it, and The French Dispatch. But yeah, you can seek out those episodes if you want to hear our thoughts more in depth about the movies that we've already discussed.
That's a good point. Never thought about that.
Yeah. And then, just like and subscribe, and let us know what you think, what your favorite movie was of the year. And then we'll see you later. Bye.